Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Class 1A podcast. Season 5 is finally here. We are incredibly excited. But as you know, my name is Andrew Nimsgren. Alongside me, I have Dylan Beal and the final return of James Graham. It's been a while, and I don't think
Yeah.
there's a better episode for you to come back on than episode 1 of season 5.
Yeah, it synced up really well that Basic ended the day before the season started up. We couldn't have planned that better. That was perfect.
Yeah, little known fact, we actually sent James away to train specifically for this season.
Yep. It
That's
was a,
why I left.
it was his own training arc coming into obviously becoming the main character of the Class 1A podcast for season 5. But
We got a manga in the works. We got the animes coming later. It'll be
It's
great.
all it's all coming. It's going to be perfect. But so if anyone is joining for the first time, so we are now jumping back in these last couple of months. We've been doing special episodes. We've been doing vigilante recaps. We are now completely shifting focus towards the new anime season, as that is where the show started, and it will be going for the next 26 episodes of season 5. We'll still be doing random videos here and there, but we're going back with this. If you already know everything about Class 1A, there are going to be timestamps down in the YouTube descriptions or in the podcast, so you can jump along to that. But I just want to kind of walk through exactly how we're going to be doing this recap if this is your first time going through a Class 1A podcast of an anime episode recap. So how it's going to do is you're always going to get this. We're always going to say some dumb shit at the beginning of every episode, and then I am going to talk for way too long about the recap of the episode. Usually just going to be a couple minutes. We're trying to shorten that down a lot. And then we're all going to give our general thoughts. So just talk about the episode and what we thought. From there, we're going to go into a couple of structured questions or kind of thoughts about what we want to talk about. So I think today we want to talk about the new opening closer. We want to talk about the overall recaps compared to previous seasons, and then the post-credit scene, which is a really big thing we want to spend a little bit of time talking about. And then our favorite thing is the Plus Ultra Award, where every single episode we're going to decide one character that went beyond, count them up throughout the entire season, and then have a couple of Plus Ultra winners at the end of the season. And then any questions people send in, anything else we want to talk about, and then just a general wrap up of the show. So that's kind of what to expect here. Any episodes outside of the anime recaps, you have no idea what to expect. But with this, that's going to be the general format. But I guess with that, I might as well continue as promised and talk way too long about what actually happened in the episode. So it started off with pretty much a flashback of all the Class 1A students talking about the Endeavor versus the high-end fight, which again is a great way to start any season because it gave me chills right off the bat. We pretty much get to see a shortened version of that episode, ending with him putting his arm up and then jumping back to the current day, where as all the students sit down and Aizawa comes in, an alarm goes off saying that there is a hypothetical villain on campus and that Class 1A needs to respond. Class 1A goes over and they start to do scouting with a couple of the classmates that are best for that, like Jiro and Shoji, and then eventually they start breaking up into squads as there is a fire going on and that there is someone in the water. We learn that Mirio is the one in the water and that a small group has to work together to go and save him multiple times throughout the episode. Another squad breaks out to go and stop the fire, which is burning down and collapsing one of the buildings and put that out, which includes Shoto and Genium and people like that. And then there is a fourth squad that is looking for the villains. Part of those broke off, but not too worried about that. But they're just kind of going through and trying to figure out where the villains are. It is revealed that the hypothetical villains are going to be the two remaining members of the big three, Amajiki and Hado. And they're kind of very much being themselves while pretending to be these villains. Hado being very much kind of the innocent person she is, saying, don't move, you kids need to be punished, all that. Well, Amajiki just wants to go home and makes that very clear throughout the entire episode in a lot of really funny moments. This whole interaction is here. There's a small fight going on. Hado's actually taken care of very easily, showing how well Class 1A is working together and how much they advanced. And eventually, the fight against Amajiki is going well until Bakugo literally rolls in on top of like a Ferrari and then instantly beats him up. And then that is the end of that there. There's a couple of small moments to talk about throughout the fight there. But pretty much ends with Bakugo blowing up the entire city, it looks like, with a death skull going up in the sky and everyone walking out just covered in ash. We do get the ending credits there, and then afterwards we do get a short scene seeing with Endeavor in the hospital, badly injured after his fight with the high-end Nomu, because this is only one day after that fight happened. And then it also has a flashback of right after Endeavor putting his fist up, of Hawks coming over and kind of grabbing him. They talk a little bit about, oh, that's All Might's pose. And during that moment, Dabi shows up saying, hey, we haven't met yet, and kind of just a very short thing there, but that there's a confrontation from Dabi after the whole fight. But even after that, we do see Hawks and Dabi meeting just briefly at the end of the episode. Who knows what to talk about? And then from there, it goes into the episode preview. It doesn't show too much, just kind of sets up the Class 1A, Class 1B a little bit, and sets up a little bit about what Hawks is doing with both organizations. So, super interesting thing to talk about later. But overall thoughts on the episode. I think for a recap, this is about as best we can get, right?
You know what? Every season I do this to myself, and I don't know why. I pray they don't do a recap episode, and every time I get it, and I'm just like, fuck. But honestly, like, I mean, yeah, for a recap episode, it was pretty well done. I had one nitpick. Like overall, I was like, okay, cool. We get a reintroduction to all these characters. That's sick, and we get to see their powers, their names, all this shit. Some of them don't have the whatever hero. I don't know if you guys picked that up when they were doing that. Like, yeah, so like Uravity didn't have one. Deku, of course, doesn't have one. But there was like, and it wasn't like consistent with like, okay, the main cast doesn't have it, right? Like it was in like, I don't know, it was just like something that really irked me that like you had it consistently all the way through, and then like these couple characters did. I was like, why? Like, just come on, man, come on,
But
give
I
them
take
something.
that as a good sign. If that's your one irk of the episode, that's a really small one. Because I mean, at least for me, Dylan, I was laughing throughout the entire time. Every time Mirio was on screen, I was laughing. Every time Amajiki talked, I was laughing. Like, the whole interaction with the big three in Class 1A was phenomenal. I mean, this stands up to a lot of manga episodes for me in terms of enjoyment. Pushing the story forward, obviously a very different case, but starting with the Endeavor fight, going into the really fun moments, and kind of seeing how well Class 1A is doing, and then the fighting against Big 3, and then kind of getting that moment that a lot of people are waiting for at the end of Season 4 of Dabi showing up after that Endeavor Nomu fight was such a good way to end it, and actually kind of makes part of it a canon episode, because that is something that happened in the manga that wasn't covered at the end of Season 4. So I think it's about as best as you can get for a recap episode.
Yeah, I was smiling like an idiot the entire time. I was just really happy, one, to have the show back, and two, it was a good one. Like, it wasn't bad. I was worried that they were going to get bogged down in the whole like explaining the story over to us, which they didn't really do that. So it was like kind of cool. And then yeah, adding in the little bit at the very end to make it more like focused on the story. I think that's a really important bit, and they should probably do something similar with them going forward.
I hope that I really take they take this template away from this one and start implementing it forward. I think a big reason why this recap felt so much better than the other ones too is they didn't overuse previous episode footage. Right, there's a lot of this stuff was like mostly brand new for this episode. Right, all those fights, all that shit. I was a big fan of the stills too. Every time they like went one that stood out to me really good was Ciro's. I thought Ciro's like still was really sick because it had a tape covering like half his face.
He looks really cool in his his fight against Amajiki too. He looked like a badass for the 30 seconds he got his screen time.
He didn't look like a background character for once.
No, and I think they did a really good job with that. They made like every character feel included, right? Like, I mean, even freaking, oh my god. Omnivoice and like Sugarman, like they both, they both had their time, and like it's like they're not, it's like it's as much as they're gonna get, but still, it was nice. It was nice to have like the entire class introduced.
Can we talk about was Sato's name always Sugarman? Because when Froppy called him that, I was like, is she being mean to him? I thought she was like talking shit.
I think that was the name he picked, like when they did hero names. I'm pretty sure
he did not remember that at all.
I don't think he used it very often. Is the thing?
No, he didn't. And like, yeah, I can't remember what hero. I think he's just the sugar hero or something like that.
Yeah, the sugar hero, Sugarman.
Sugarman, yeah, and his power is Sugar Rush, right? But like, I don't know, he's perfect the way he is.
So one thing I noticed that I guess, so I was watching the subbed version of it, and one thing I didn't notice before is Aoyama. Can't Stop Twinkling, everyone's name. Like, so everyone's hero name for the most part is like an English name, except his is literally the English characters, and he's the only one they use the English characters for, like in his splash screen. I thought that was really funny.
Yeah. His hero name is lengthy as hell too. Like it's great. But it's so Aoyama, right? At this point, like it's perfect for the character.
Yeah, I really think everyone got a spotlight. And again, kind of going back to this format is, if you're jumping into Season 5, it's a recap episode, but like kind of reminding people of what the hero names are and like a quirk a little bit. Like that's
Yeah.
all you should be reminding people of, and the exact thing that ended at the end of season 4. Like I agree, that's all you need to do, because if you're jumping into season 5 and have watched nothing, you don't deserve a full recap. Go back and
Yeah.
watch the previous season. So I agree, and I think that's what made it special. Is that even last season there was a lot bigger thing. Like I think they even touched on like Deku and All Might meeting and him getting his quirk for the first time at the beginning of season 4 of the anime. Like that just felt like such a big jump, and this one was so much smaller, which I really think was great. So I think overall we're all very happy with the episode. We don't really have any big complaints, except the fact that it's not a manga episode, but we're as happy as we can be for it.
Yeah, and the one thing I did see someone comment on is that it did not open up with a Deku monologue.
It was
Thank
in
God.
there though.
It was
It
in
was
there, but
the-
it did not open on it.
I
Yeah.
like the cold opener, and that the opening didn't come until a little later into it. I actually really like that instead of
Yeah.
the normal opening. But I guess that's actually a really good transition. Start moving to the couple of topics we really want to hit on. The first one being, what are our thoughts on the new opening and closing? I think we start with the opener first, give our thoughts about it, and then we move over to the closing. But Dylan, how are you feeling about the new one?
It's incredible. It's really good. It's like super solid. It's not my favorite out of all of them, but like in terms of visuals, the visuals are there. They're really good, and the song's really good. The only thing about the visuals is I think it's like pretty apparent that it's going to cover this first arc coming up based on the trailer that we see. That's like kind of where the visuals are leading us into,
Yep.
which is cool. It's really awesome. There's some good scenes there. Um, I'm just really hyped on it now, though.
Yeah,
James?
there's no like crazy foreshadowing in the opener, right? It's pretty in line with the trailer, and like that, like because there's nothing that you've seen in the opener that you're like, what the hell's the deal with that?
There's one thing. There is one thing. There's
Okay,
yeah.
yeah,
There's
okay,
all
there
those
is okay,
spooky
yeah,
spirits.
the spirit, yeah, all the spooky ghosts
Pretty
are
big
there,
thing. And
and that's
Shinzo, we
like,
know nothing about Shinzo up to this point from the
that's
anime.
true. But we know,
It'll be
like
coming
what
quick.
Shinzo's been in all the promotional art for this season, right? So you know he's an integral part of this at some point. I thought it was weird that they have like Shinzo and Deku squaring off, because I'm like it's just not. I don't think that's how it's gonna work. But whatever, fuck it. We'll take it. But I thought overall, yeah, like a song, like Dylan said, I don't think it's my top, but it's pretty damn good. In the visuals, I just like seeing people use their powers. So, and we see a bunch of that in this.
Yeah,
I'm pretty happy with it.
I agree. It's definitely not my favorite. First time through, I'm like, I don't love it. The second time through, it definitely grew me a little bit, especially when that kind of the upbeat comes in about halfway through the opening. It really picks up. The quirks start coming. I really start enjoying it there. It's a little bit of a slow start compared to some other ones that usually they have like the really hard guitar riff or something right as it starts.
Yeah,
So it's a different vibe. But again, I think the animation and the actual visuals behind it is super fun to watch, and it's gonna grow on me as I go. But I think we're gonna get a lot of them. I think we're gonna get a lot of new openers and closers throughout the season. But I guess before we move on to the ending, just want to actually give the song names for both of them if anyone is actually curious. So this first one is Number One by Dish. I think it was a song made specifically for the anime because it didn't exist before today. And then the ending theme is going to be Footprints by the Peggies, which is what I want to transfer into talking about. I think this is my second favorite closing, visual wise, behind the fantasy one. I
yeah.
love
Okay.
seeing them all go shopping and just kind of having a good time and do the party, whatever. I love that aspect. The song is really good too. Again, I don't think it stands up to something like Star Maker or some of the other ending songs, but it's really good. I really enjoyed it. Overall, it's up there in almost S tier, I'd say, just because of the visuals alone, and the song, anything with the Peckies, I'm gonna love.
Yeah, it's really good, and I'm a big sucker for costume changes of any kind. And so the fact
Those
that we got
fits
like
are
some
sick.
the fact that we
Yeah.
got some new costumes for Class 1A, just like in their casual, just like going shopping clothes. It's so cool. It's awesome. I love it.
It reminds me like very much of like why so many people enjoyed the first Jujutsu Kaisen closer, because it was the costume change, it was very upbeat, all that stuff, and this had the same effect, which I really like that. This actually caught me better than the opener. I was more into the closing than I was the
Gotcha.
opener. And yeah, the costume changes were great. I was a big fan. Also love the fact that like in the supermarket, it's just littered with like top heroes, like
Back
memorabilia.
All Might, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. It's so cool.
yeah, and the nice little Easter egg of the top hero switch. when Deku grabs the pack and it's All Might, and then behind it it's Endeavor. So like you can like the new products getting rolled out with
Yeah,
the
that's a
new
good
Sub
touch.
I
Hero,
thought I
right?
noticed that the second time through, but I did not kind of put that together. That's actually such a good little egg. But
Yeah, exactly. Right. It was sick. So yeah, big fan of this one too.
perfect. Then I guess the next thing is, I guess we've touched on it a little bit for the recap format thoughts. So we pretty much all agree that this is going to be the best recap so far, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think the important bit of this is that we talked about is you only really go into like what just happened in the story from season 4 and just use this just to remind everyone's name and quirk. I think that's a really good format for it.
You get to be reminded like how the characters interact and like what they're like, how they, how they interact with their classmates and stuff like that. You get a nice little bit of Aizawa too. So like, I mean, you kind of get all the core components of the show without beating you to death with like, this is what happened in season 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? Like, it's the immediate shit that you like most people would be going back into.
Is there any way to tweak it and make it a little better? Because I feel like most of the recaps have been getting a little better as seasons have gone on. Is there any little tweak here and there besides James' little irk with not the hero names always appearing correctly? Outside of that, is there anything that could have made this episode better for you guys?
Make it more story relevant. And that's the only
Uh,
way. But I feel like the introduction of like the names and the quirks might get in the way of the story if you do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think this is getting close. And the important bit for this is even though on all the sites it's going to show up as an episode, this is an episode 0, I believe. So it's not going to get in the way of the episode total. I think it's like what 25 or 26.
Um,
I want to say 25. I want to say it's
Yeah,
always
and
usually
and I
25.
think that's the thing that I feel fine about is, we get a nice light introduction. There's really good bits in there. I don't have like any sour like taste in my mouth from it. So I think this is about as good as you're gonna get for a recap episode.
I agree.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yeah, like it kind of captures exactly what you want from the characters. And that's really, I think, the big emphasis of this. And then again, the relevant story bits, right? Plus new story bits that they left out that they roped in, which
Yes,
is
which
great.
I think was huge, and I think that's what brought it. Like, I think that's as story relevant it can be. It's like, oh, this is the day after the end of season 4, and then on the end they kind of do one last flashback of setting up some bigger things. So I agree. I think this is about as close to the perfect formula for a recap episode as they can get. Obviously, remove them in the future if you really want to make it better. But I agree. As long as it's an episode 0, I'm always happy with this, and I'm laughing this hard every time. I think it's a great way to start the season. But the last big thing we got to talk about, all that post-credit scenes. And I think most specifically, Hawks. Is Hawks a villain? He was working with Dabi. I mean, let's say working is an overestimation, but he was meeting Dabi in a dark alley and they weren't instantly fighting.
And he was looking real like like he was like he's like darkened by like a
Yep.
shadow. He like kind of
Yeah.
looked evil. I think the thing that like really starts setting off my alarm here is also got something kind of like this in the movie as well, right?
Did
Oh,
Like
we?
yeah.
we got mention of Shigaraki talking about Hawks at the end of the movie. Um
Right.
Yeah.
yeah, we had
Yeah.
that. And so that was like a very confusing like what is he talking about? And then that in addition to this is like setting off some like I don't know, I'm getting nervous. I like
Yeah.
Hawks. He's a really cool character. I'm just getting nervous.
Yeah, the
Especially,
thing with
go on.
go ahead. No, now I'm like questioning the movie because like the movie's not supposed to be canon, but why is it including canon shit? You know what I mean? But like on top of that, like it's as you've seen in the episode, and I think this actually takes into the preview too. It seems like an uneasy kind of conversation because I'm pretty sure at one point he brings out a feather blade and some shit and like holds it
That's
to his
true.
throat. So it's like, but they're still having a conversation. You know what I mean? There's still a discussion, which is like, is he evil? Is he a villain? Or is he just not that straight shot of a hero? You know what I mean? Which is kind of more where I'm going towards, like, because Hawks is like young, he's ambitious. We already know he really is just trying to go a mile a minute. Like that's his whole thing. He wants to be the fastest and the quickest. And if he sees this as like the quickest route to get to a resolution,
Mm.
maybe that's why he's doing it. So I don't want to put him in the he's a villain category right away. But
So like I don't want to say like an anti-hero, but like he's like kind of willing to get his hands dirty as long as it has
Yeah,
the best outcome.
Yeah.
exactly. I think anti-hero's too far
A
into the
little
other.
too far, but
Yeah, but like, yeah, not afraid to get his hands dirty to like get the for the greater good sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
I think his what like where are we putting that on like the alignment chart? Is that like chaotic good? Like, would you put that there?
Like
yeah,
chaotic
that's
neutral.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're looking for the best outcomes, so
Yeah.
probably. But like, I don't know. My question is like, why? So what greater threat is there then if he's like working with Dabi, which assuming that's the entire League of Villains, what's the greater threat then? Because if he's working with them,
Mm.
that must be like to fight something else. And what could that other thing be? Because
The
we have no leads right now.
Well, the other thing is too is why is it Dabi? Why is it Dabi out of the entire League of Villains? Why isn't it Shigaraki? Why isn't it fucking Portal Boy? Like, why isn't
Or
it like
twice.
somebody? Yeah, why is it somebody a bit more like integral to like the command structure? Why is it Dabi? Why, and especially with just a fight with Endeavor, and like, I mean, we don't know. Like, I mean, the correlation is like there's powers, like they have the same goddamn powers, but like, does that gonna play in? Like, is like why are we getting so many? Like, why is it him? Why is it Dabi? I think there's more questions about why is it Dabi, not why is Hawks having the conversation. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that's all really fair points. And just the last thing to kind of bring into it is that, I mean, Hawks brought Endeavor to the city, and as they're sitting down at lunch, he's attacked by one of the strongest no moves ever. And now we're seeing him meeting with the League of Villains. I mean, I think there's probably some kind of correlation there. I mean, I don't think that's by chance that he's talking about all these no moves in his shadow, and then one comes straight at them. Like, that just all seems a little bit too on the nose when we're seeing Hawks talking to Dabi as well. So I think that's also something to play in things that, regardless of what Hawks is, chaotic good, evil, whatever he is, that I think that correlation's a little too close for it not to at
Yeah,
least lead that Hawks probably had something to do with that.
yeah, it's real sus. It's real, real sus.
I agree. But I think that's really the last for those kind of things, unless you guys want to touch anything else, because I think we need to head into our first Plus Ultra Award of the season. So, as I said at the beginning of the episode, this is an award we give out each and every single episode of the anime of one character that either went beyond, made the episode special, or just stood out to each of us hosts. And we each get to pick our own character every episode, and we'll tally up all the points at the end. And James, since this is your first episode back in forever, you get
Holy.
the honors of the first Plus Ultra of season 5.
Oh, this is difficult because it's like a recap and like they try and like share the limelight to everybody. I almost want to give it to Mirio for like top tier acting. I think that's where I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give it to Mirio just for his acting skills alone, but also Amajiki for like sticking to like the most himself he's ever been. It's a toss up. Pick like one or the other. I don't care.
So
But
the important bit is we have stakes this season.
oh,
There's stakes for Plus Ultra, so you have to
You
decide
have to
on
pick
one.
one.
god damn it. Give it to Mirio. Give
All
it to
right,
Mirio.
Dylan, is that your
Mirio.
vote?
It's gonna be Mirio as well. He was just so funny. He was just too funny in this
Yeah.
episode.
I agree, and Mirio's my second choice. Amajiki's my first because I
Oh,
very
there we
much
go.
love
Okay.
playing in Amajiki as well. Mirio is just much closer, especially the last shot of him when he's just spinning with just his face out of the water, going down the like that one got me bursting laughing both times. I watched the episode twice already this morning. Both times I was just laughing so hard at that. But Amajiki not only kind of being a badass and actually fighting until being scared of Bakugo in the very end, which is fitting. Anyone would be scared of it, but he had a lot of really good moments too. But those two definitely were stars of the episode, despite Bakugo literally showing up on a Ferrari and just beating the shit out of Amajiki, which is something we didn't touch on enough. But God, what an iconic Bakugo moment. Yelling at Kaminari and then Kirishima kind of being the front guard. An iconic moment for that group.
On though is that this is the first time we've actually seen, oh, second time, sorry, that we've seen Bakugo actually be disciplined because of stuff he's done. This is we you never see it. He does like so much stuff that you're like, you could probably get in shit for that. You could probably get in shit for that. But this, he's there like bring him to the staff faculty office. And I was like, that's a first. I don't think we've ever seen him like go to the principal's office, but this is
Yeah.
it's happening.
But overall, guys, what a first episode of the season. And I think it's only going to get better from here. I mean, obviously, the openers teasing so much. All the trailers, we have so much to know between whatever's awakening within Deku, between the new vestige and spirits we've seen, and now the next episode preview and the opener. So there's so much that's going to happen this season. I'm so excited with that. But unless you guys have anything else to talk about, I think that is going to be it for the first episode recap of season 5.
We're in it.
Perfect.
Full send.
Awesome. Well, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of Class 1A Podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to subscribe, turn on the bell, and obviously leave your comments and thoughts about the episode overall so that you get all of our updated My Hero Academia content. Because right after recording this, we're going to go and actually record a breakdown and our thoughts on the new trailer for the third My Hero Academia movie, and that's going to be on YouTube only. So make sure you can follow along with that. And if you're listening to a podcast, as so many of you do, 5-star reviews, always appreciative. And if you want even more My Hero content, it's all on YouTube, like I just said. But thank you so much. I will see you all next Saturday for the next episode of the Class 1A Podcast.